welcome to our deep dive today.
Yeah.
It's a pretty unique challenge. We've got excerpts from Unlocking Life. We're going to try to analyze the author's voice.
Right.
How does that resonate with readers?
Yeah. And how does that connect with the person on the other side of the page?
It's like a literary x-ray.
You're right.
Peeking beneath the surface of the words to understand how that style fosters a connection.
Yeah.
Our mission is to figure out what makes this author's voice tick? How do they pull readers in?
Okay.
What kind of relationship does their writing create?
Yeah.
What emotions or insights might somebody walk away with?
A great place to start is with the author's background.
Okay.
We know they have a master's in rehabilitation counseling, served in the military, and worked as a counselor.
Right.
That blend of professional experience with real-world application could make their perspective feel really grounded.
And they don't shy away from sharing their own challenges.
Right.
They open up about losing friends.
To suicide, the death of a partner, navigating difficult relationships.
Absolutely.
That vulnerability is pretty powerful.
Instead of presenting themselves as some untouchable expert, they come across as someone who's been through the fire and come out the other side. Someone who understands the messy reality of life.
Right.
And that kind of authenticity can really resonate with readers.
Yes.
Create a sense of trust and relatability.
It's like a friend offering guidance.
Exactly.
Not a lecture from on high.
Yeah.
It makes you think how our own experiences shape how we see the world and how we connect with others.
For sure.
When it comes to personal growth and resilience, having someone who's walked the walk can be so much more impactful than someone who's just talking the talk.
Absolutely. And there's a moment in the book that really exemplifies this.
Okay.
The author describes a personal aha moment.
Okay.
A realization they had about self-worth. They were feeling trapped by someone else's negative opinion. Wow.
But therapy helped them understand that their value shouldn't depend on external validation.
That must have been a liberating realization.
It was.
To break free from that need for constant approval.
It becomes a pivotal point in their journey towards self-compassion.
Okay.
And what's really interesting is how the author shares this story.
Okay.
They don't just state the concept of self-worth.
Right.
They make it tangible through their personal experience. It's raw and vulnerable.
Yeah.
It invites the reader to consider their own relationship with self-worth.
It's like they're saying, hey, I've been there. I know what it feels like to struggle with this, and you're not alone.
Exactly.
So especially for someone who might be wrestling with similar feelings of inadequacy.
And by modeling that vulnerability, the author creates a space for the reader to be vulnerable too.
Right.
It's almost like an unspoken invitation to explore their own aha moments.
Yeah.
Those defining experiences that shape how they view themselves in the world.
I noticed the author uses the word we a lot. Even when they're talking about something intensely personal, it feels inclusive.
Right.
It's like they're bringing the reader along on their journey.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
That use of we is subtle but really effective in breaking down that wall between author and reader.
Yeah.
It fosters a sense of shared experience.
Yeah.
Like they're walking side by side on this path of self-discovery.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because the book itself seems to focus on pretty weighty topics.
Right.
There are sections on resilience, heartbreak, letting go, facing really difficult stuff like death and loss. But somehow the author's voice doesn't make it feel overwhelming.
Right. It's like they're acknowledging the hard parts of life without letting them define the whole story.
Okay.
There's this one quote that really captures this.
Okay.
Life is not a sprint or a marathon. It's an obstacle course. And the real victory lies in how we navigate the hurdles, not just in reaching the finish line.
That's a great analogy. Life is an obstacle course.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
It perfectly captures that sense of continuous growth and the fact that challenges are an inevitable part of the journey.
And by framing these topics as journeys, not destinations, the author invites the reader to embrace the process.
Okay.
It's not about achieving some perfect state of being, but rather about learning to navigate the ups and downs with grace and resilience.
Okay.
And they seem to suggest that doing it together, author and reader, somehow makes it less daunting.
You know, I'm also struck by how the author seems to encourage readers to engage with the material beyond just reading it.
Right.
They invite questions and discussion, even mentioning their podcast, Information for Life.
Right.
It's another avenue for exploration.
That's a really interesting point. By explicitly welcoming interaction, they're extending that sense of community beyond the pages of the book. It transforms the act of reading from a passive experience into an active dialogue.
It's like they're saying, hey, I'm not just here to lecture you. I want to hear your thoughts, your questions, your experiences. Let's learn from each other.
Exactly. And that open invitation to connect could make the reader feel valued and empowered to participate in the conversation.
Yeah.
It's a powerful way to create a lasting impact.
Yeah. We're talking about how the author invites readers into this active dialogue. Makes me think about how they weave in personal anecdotes, research, practical advice. It creates this really engaging mix of storytelling, tangible takeaways.
There's this section about self-compassion that stood out to me.
Okay.
They write, self-compassion thus is not an act of self-indulgence, but a courageous act of self-acceptance.
That line really flips the script on how we typically think about self-compassion, doesn't it?
It challenges that common idea that being kind to ourselves is somehow weak or selfish. Instead, they position it as a source of strength and resilience.
Why is there such a resistance to the idea of self-compassion? Is it societal pressure?
That's a really insightful question. I think the author touches on this idea in the book. They seem to suggest that we often internalize these external messages of not enoughness, which can lead to self-criticism, constant feeling of needing to prove ourselves.
Which makes self-compassion even more crucial.
Absolutely.
If we're constantly bombarded with messages that tell us we're falling short, having that inner voice of kindness and understanding can be a real lifeline.
It is. And it's not about ignoring areas where we want to grow or change. It's about approaching ourselves with the same gentleness and understanding that we would offer a close friend.
Recognizing that we're all works in progress, and that's okay.
Exactly. This idea of embracing imperfection seems to be a recurring theme in Unlocking Life. There are sections about heartbreak, letting go, even celebrating endings as new beginnings. It's like the author is guiding us through the natural cycles of life, the ebb and flow of joy and sorrow, reminding us that it's all part of the human experience.
We don't have to have it all figured out,
Exactly.
It's okay to be messy, to make mistakes, to stumble along the way.
It's about accepting the messy reality of life and having the courage to keep moving forward.
There's a passage where the author talks about change as an opportunity for growth. They write, sometimes the greatest lessons are learned not in moments of triumph, but in the midst of our struggles, when life forces us to confront our deepest fears and insecurities.
Wow. That's such a powerful statement. It really speaks to the transformative potential of challenging experiences. It's easy to resist change, to want to hold on to what's familiar, even if it's no longer serving us. But as the author points out, it's often in those moments of disruption, when we're forced outside our comfort zones, that we discover hidden strengths and resilience we didn't even know we had.
And I think that's a message that could resonate deeply with readers who are going through their own periods of transition or upheaval. It's like the author is offering a hand saying, I've been there, I know it's tough, but you're not alone, and you have the strength to get through this.
Exactly.
It's interesting how the author manages to blend these deeply personal insights with broader concepts and research. Like, they'll share a story about their own experience with grief or loss, and then connect it to psychological research on coping mechanisms or the stages of healing.
It's a really effective way to make the information both relatable and credible. It's not just dry theory. It's grounded in the author's lived experience and supported by scientific evidence.
Creates this sense of, hey, I'm not just making this up. This is based on real life experience and sound research.
Exactly. By weaving those elements together, the author creates a compelling narrative that can really resonate with readers on multiple levels.
There's this one passage where the author talks about the importance of solitude. They write, solitude is not about isolation. It's about creating space for introspection, for connecting with our inner selves, for listening to the whispers of our hearts. What do you think they mean by that?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think it ties back to this idea of self-compassion.
Okay.
The need to create space for self-reflection. In a world that's constantly demanding our attention,
Right.
it can be easy to lose touch with our own thoughts and feelings.
It's like we're so busy reacting to the external world that we forget to check in with what's going on internally.
Exactly. I think the author is suggesting that solitude can be a powerful antidote to that.
Okay.
It's about carving out time to be alone with ourselves, to process our emotions, to reconnect with our values and priorities.
Yeah.
It's in those moments of quiet reflection that we can gain the clarity and insight we need to make choices that are aligned with our authentic selves.
It's interesting because we often associate solitude with loneliness or isolation, but the author seems to be suggesting that it can actually be a source of strength and connection.
I agree.
Connection to ourselves and perhaps even to something larger than ourselves.
And I think that speaks to the author's overall message of resilience and personal growth. It's not about avoiding the hard parts of life or pretending that everything is always okay.
Yeah.
It's about facing our challenges with courage, embracing our imperfections, and finding the strength to keep moving forward.
Right.
Even when the path ahead is uncertain.
So we've been unpacking some pretty profound ideas about resilience and self-compassion.
Right.
I'm curious, how does the author tie all of this together?
Right.
What's the ultimate message?
Well, it seems like one of the core threads running through Unlocking Life is this idea of finding strength in vulnerability.
Okay.
The author challenges the traditional notion that strength is about being stoic or invulnerable.
Right.
They suggest that true strength comes from acknowledging our imperfections, embracing our emotions, having the courage to be authentically ourselves, even when it feels scary.
That idea of embracing vulnerability goes against what many of us are taught growing up, right?
Yeah.
We're often told to toughen up, to hide our emotions, to put on a brave face.
Exactly. And the author seems to be pushing back against that.
Okay.
They argue that by suppressing our emotions, we're actually cutting ourselves off from a source of strength.
Okay. There's a line in the book where they write, "To deny our vulnerabilities is to deny a part of ourselves, to dim the light of our authenticity."
It's like they're saying that true strength comes from wholeness.
Yeah.
From accepting all parts of ourselves, the light and the shadow.
Right. And that when we embrace our vulnerabilities, we open ourselves up to deeper connection.
Okay.
Both with ourselves and with others.
There's a passage where the author writes about the importance of self-compassion in relationships.
Okay.
They say, in the tapestry of human connection, self-compassion is the thread that binds us, allowing us to mend the frayed edges of our hearts and weave together a fabric of understanding and empathy.
That's a beautiful image.
Yeah.
It highlights how self-compassion isn't just about being kind to ourselves.
Right.
It also ripples outwards.
Yes.
Influencing how we interact with others.
Because when we can accept ourselves, flaws and all, it becomes easier to accept others too, right?
Really?
It creates more space for understanding and grace.
For sure.
In our relationships. Exactly. And that ties back to the author's overall message of embracing our shared humanity.
Okay.
They seem to believe that we're all in this together, navigating the complexities of life, and that connection is essential to our well-being.
There's a passage toward the end of the book that really captures this sentiment. The author writes, "In the grand symphony of life, we are each a unique instrument playing our own melody. Yet it is when we come together in harmony and dissonance that the true beauty of the music is revealed."
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
It speaks to the richness and complexity of the human experience.
Yes.
The beauty that can emerge from both our shared experiences and our individual differences.
It's like the author's reminding us that we don't have to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a work in progress.
Yeah.
The journey itself is where the real magic lies.
And that even in our most vulnerable moments, we have the capacity for incredible strength, resilience, and connection.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Unlocking Life.
We have.
We've explored the author's unique voice, their insights on resilience and self-compassion, and their vision for a more connected and compassionate world.
It's been a fascinating journey.
Yeah.
We hope it sparked some new ideas and insights for you as well.
Remember, the beauty of any book lies in its ability to spark individual reflection.
Right.
What resonated most with you from our deep dive today?
Yeah, what questions or insights will you carry forward
on your own journey?
The author's words offer a powerful invitation to embrace our authentic selves, navigate life's challenges with grace, and cultivate deeper connection with ourselves and others.
So we encourage you to explore unlocking life for yourself and discover what treasures it holds for you.
Until next time.
Until next time, happy diving.